In this video, I'm going to be talking about using in-ears on your live gigs, and specifically the Xvive R45. So first I'm going to cut to the chase and say the R45 is great. And I wholeheartedly recommend it for you if it's right for your use case, which we'll get to in a bit. So I have mostly positives, a few things that could be a little bit better, but considering the price, I can't imagine there's really much of a better way to go. Most of you are probably here because you got interested in my videos from my arranging tips. What you might not know is that I'm also a full-time professional musician. I gig on trumpet. And for those of you that aren't brass players, monitoring is incredibly important, much like it is for a vocalist. So if I can't hear myself while I'm playing, I'll play wrong notes or I'll play dreadfully out of tune. So despite the fact that trumpet has buttons, a lot of the intonation comes from the way I'm actually blowing into the instrument. And if I can't hear myself and I can't hear the other musicians in the band, I'm going to play out of tune. And likely I'm going to be pushing too hard and use up my endurance much sooner in the night than I would need to. Before I get too far, I want to let you know that Xvive sent me this U45 R4 kit. Basically, everything that you see here. Here it is. Let's open it up. We've got a transmitter, 4 receivers. I don't know if this is in focus or not. Transmitter and 4 receivers. That looks pretty good. The case is not included in the kit, by the way. I paid for that myself because I've been using it on gigs. So far, I've used this in-ear monitoring system for 7 gigs over the past 3 weeks. I've used it on 7 gigs. Of those gigs, one of them was a 2-set gig, one of them was a 3-set gig, and all the rest were 4-set gigs, where each set is 45 or 50 minutes long. So for full transparency, Xvive reached out to me to ask if I'd review their R45 system. And I immediately wrote back and said I would love to. I've been thinking about getting wireless in-ear monitoring going for some of my gigs for quite a while, but the cost can be quite prohibitive. The 2 vocalists in the band that I gig with the most, a male and a female vocalist, share one, I believe it's a Shure wireless monitoring system. It could be a Sennheiser. Sennheiser and Shure are the 2 big companies that do this. And while their systems are excellent, they also can get very, very expensive. So the pair of Shures that they have one stereo mix that they run to 2 different packs, and the female vocalist uses one side of the stereo mix and the male vocal uses the other side, so they can get virtually 2 mixes out of it, depending on how they pan their individual headphones. This system, on the other hand, we get 4 receivers and 1 transmitter, so we're able to transmit 1 mix, and it's mono, but the entire kit costs less than a third of what that other kit cost. You can, basically get everyone on their own mix for less money with Xvive than you could with one of the big companies. I was offered this kit to review for Xvive coming up on my biggest gig season of the year, knowing that I'd have plenty of opportunities to put it through its paces if the horn section in the band that I'm working with wants to deal with in-ears. And that was the way I thought of it from the beginning, was dealing with in-ears. I knew that it was going to be adding some amount of complexity to our gig setup. Most of the venues that we show up to have a bunch of monitor wedges that they're used to sending individual mixes to. And showing up with a wireless transmitter and a bunch of little belt packs and stuff does add a little bit of complexity to our sound check. And if it doesn't sound good enough, when you're plugging the mix directly into your ears, it could be worse for you than just going with a wedge. Because if you have a wedge, you still hear all the other instruments on the stage acoustically, even if they're not represented well enough in your monitor wedge. So I didn't know exactly how it was going to go. So for the first gig, which was only a 2-set gig, we set up a monitor wedge in front of the horn section and had it off, and then set up that same mix going through the Xvive system. And by the end of that first set, the 3 of us were convinced that in-ears were the way to go from now on. First of all, if it's a gig where you would be bringing your own sound system, a monitor wedge is essentially a loudspeaker. It's huge and it's heavy. It takes up probably half of your trunk, or if you're going in an SUV, a big chunk of your space. And this monitor, which again could be used for 4 people in the band, takes up this much space, right? So it's kind of a no-brainer from that purpose. But in terms of actual usability, when I've got my in-ear monitors plugged in, and this is a custom set of molds that I've had for a few years. I got them from a brand called Perfect Seal that had a thing set up in NAMM. Let's see, can you see these? There you go. See, they're made of hard plastic, and they go kind of deep into your ears. These work as kind of intensely good earplugs, and at the same time can leak music in through them. So when you put them in, the ambient stage volume goes incredibly low, and then when I turn up my belt pack, I can actually have the gig at whatever volume I want, which during the gig still feels quite loud, but at the end of the set, when I take my earplugs out for our break or to put the gear away, even when the band's not playing, I can tell how loud the venue is. And that's sort of been universal. Every single gig we've done in different locations have all been incredibly loud. So I can just imagine the amount of hearing damage and hearing loss I'm preventing by using in-ear monitors rather than a wedge. All right, so let's talk about the Xvive system specifically. All right, so first, if you're coming to this video, you might be curious how the U45 compares to the U4 Xvive system. Now, for full transparency, I've never used the U4. So, but I have several friends and colleagues that use it. I work with a wedding band where one of the vocalists and the keyboard player both bring their individual transmitter receivers, U4s, for several years. And they like them a lot. I've actually asked them on a couple of gigs what they think of them, and they just tell me that it's excellent. So the U4 is excellent. The U45 is excellent. A few things have been upgraded. My guess, if you have a U4 already, it's not necessarily worth switching over to a U45 system, which will become obvious. But if you haven't purchased in-ear monitors yet and you're looking at Xvive, I almost would 100% recommend going U45 if you're buying them new. The price difference just isn't great enough to be worth the sacrifice of going with the old system, and I'll make it clear why that is. So first, this is the transmitter, this little nubby guy. Let's see, put it in front of my face. There you go. There are only a few different buttons on here. You've got an aux line button. I guess it's the one on this side. And then on this side is the power or mute switch. Basically, you hit the power or mute switch, the thing turns on. You can see a little light there. This actually, it's showing a green light, and this is after a 3-set gig I played last night without recharging it. So it actually has quite a bit of charge, at least initially. And then the other one is an aux and line switch, which aux sends more signal than line does. So I guess that depends on your use case, which one you're going to use. Basically, this big button is the channel selector. There are 6 channels, and you set the channel on the transmitter, and then you make sure the receivers are set to that channel, and they will hear whatever audio is coming through this. It's as simple as that. And here is the Xvive receiver. Here's an example of one. I've got 4 of them, but it looks like this. There isn't much to it. Basically, on the very top, there's an on-off switch and a little headphone hole jack. There's the this selects which channel you're on. Here, if I turn it on, you'll see it's set to channel 1, which was the channel we used last night for the gig. And then on this end is a little volume knob, which is, metallic and knurled and moves very slowly, which is great for adjusting it in the middle of the gig. There are a couple of lights in between that'll alert you when the battery is getting low. I'm not sure exactly what that looks like because I haven't gotten to that point yet on a gig. And crucially, on on this side, and I didn't show you on the other one, USB-C. So, and here's the transmitter, of course, has USB-C as well. It's upside down. Sorry. Transmitter, USB-C. The old ones, I believe, use micro USB. These use USB-C, which is, it's just for charging. So in that way, USB-C and micro USB, I'm not sure which one charges faster. I'm sure there's something related to the standard. But, my iPad charges with USB-C. My gig fan for outdoor gigs also charges by USB-C. My phone uses USB-C. So having them all use the same charger makes my life a lot easier when it's time to charge all my devices. I don't have to worry about what plugs into where. They just all can charge with each other. Oh, the big deal, which I glossed right over, of course, is that the U45, this one, operates on the 5.8 gigahertz band. That's kind of a technical thing. So the U45 operates on the you have to keep looking at it, 5.8 gigahertz band. The U4s operate on the 2.4 gigahertz band. And my understanding is that 5.8 gigahertz is a less crowded space. You're competing with fewer devices. 2.4 gigahertz is sort of where most Wi-Fi lives, or so I'm told. And so you're more likely to encounter interference. In my experience, I use 2 different wireless microphones for my trumpet from time to time. I have the Xvive U7, which I reviewed on this, and the Cloud Vocal iSolo Prime. Those both operate in the 2.4 gigahertz range. I've used them both on me and another trumpeter on a bunch of gigs, and with zero cutouts ever, right? So I know there's a big deal about going to 5.8 gigahertz versus 2.4 gigahertz. In my experience, and it's been on 100 gigs since I've been going wireless, at least with the microphones, and it's not been an issue. My understanding is if you're playing, arenas or something where there's thousands upon thousands of people, that it can get a bit congested. If you're doing those kind of gigs, you're probably not using this level of device. You're probably going to the really, really, thousands upon thousands of dollars for the most robust things that are around. If you're doing up to medium-sized gigs, and we've done, even in this last 3 weeks of shows, we've been playing for 500 or 600 people a night, and they're all using their cell phones. There have been multiple Wi-Fi signals going around. Nothing has interfered. So it's just not really a big problem to me. The other quality of life improvement on U45 versus, the old version of this is that now you have a channel scan function. So when you turn it on, you can actually hold down the channel select button, and it will figure out which of the 6 channels is the most open. Every single gig so far, it's chosen channel 1. So, without that, I probably would have just stayed on channel 1. And essentially, I'm only trying another channel if I'm experiencing cutouts. So it probably wouldn't have made a difference, but I imagine turning it on and listening for whether a channel is corrupted or not would be annoying. So having a channel scan function is welcome, although probably somewhat optional. A couple other usability notes. First, the positives. These things are robust, made of metal all the way around as far as I can tell. The black part is just some sort of coated metal, and the front is some sort of sandblasted metallic color thing. It has a nice weight to it, feels substantial. It's got a really great belt clip on it that when I put it on my belt or the edge of my pocket or the edge of my pants in the back, this thing's not going anywhere. And I can confidently dance around the stage and not worry about this thing coming loose. Let's talk about a bit of negative. So just keep in mind, this goes for any of these kind of devices. Both sides of this, I believe, use internal lithium-ion batteries, which if you've ever owned, anything with an internal lithium-ion battery, like say your cell phone or whatever, you know that a few years down the road of regular use and the battery life starts to wane. So they say that these have, both the transmitter and the receiver have a 5-hour battery life. I don't know how long that's going to last in regular use. I mean, 3 or 4 years from now of this amount of heavy use, I'll be able to tell you whether they're useful or not. There's a reasonable chance that the batteries will go down to maybe 1 or 2 hours at a certain point. I can't say. But for right now, the battery seems to be working great. I guess it's easy enough to justify just when the batteries eventually do go bad. Either, getting these have different size screws with some kind of a star-shaped bit. So getting into this is not going to be easy, but potentially you could replace the batteries. I don't know. Otherwise, just replacing the whole system every 3 or 4 years might just be what it is. And similarly, in between gigs, you have to take the entire device and plug everything in. They come with these USB-A with 2 USB-C ports coming out the back. I guess if you had one of these, you just plug both of these in using the same cable. When you get a set that has 4 receivers in this, I have 3 of those. So I use a multi-port like Anchor power brick and plug them all in. And it's like this octopus of stuff charging, which isn't a huge deal, but it is a bit inconvenient. Also, when I'm doing a 4-set gig, knowing that it has a 5-hour battery life, I'm really nervous to hand the transmitter over to the sound person. The imagined use case would be I show up to the gig, hand the sound guy this, probably turn it on. Boop, it's on now, right? Okay, hand it over to them. They plug this in on their soundboard somewhere far away from where I am. I don't worry about it. I put on my belt thing, turn it on, put it on my waist somewhere, plug in my headphones, and then just go, right? But when I'm there for a 4-set gig, I might be there for 6 hours, considering breaks and stuff. And so this might not make it, right? I would really prefer the transmitter to be a device that I could plug in to mains power while it's in operation. The instruction book for this recommends highly against doing that. That says that you can destroy the battery by having it plugged in while it's working or while it's operating. So what I've been doing instead is asking the sound person to run a wire over to where I'm standing. I plug this in on the floor right in front of me, and then when I go on break, when I'm taking my belt bit off, I also bend down and turn this off, just to conserve battery life on my breaks. It would be easy enough to plug these in during my break if they get low, but if this is off somewhere with the sound person, it's not going to be easy to do that. So that's my one kind of gripe from a usability standpoint. Everything else has been, completely fantastic. If you're thinking about in-ear monitoring, the Xvive U45 system is a really great place to start. And for the price, it kind of can't be beat. If you're thinking about getting into it, this might be the right entry point for you. I have not affiliate links. The links that Xvive asked me to include are down below. I think they'll just take you to Amazon. What is a low price to some might be a high price to someone else. So my apologies if I've been referring to this as affordable and it's not affordable to you. That's all relative. But compared to the big brands, these are incredibly affordable. They're robust. This is a piece of professional gear. And enjoy. Welcome to the world of in-ears. All right. I have a couple of ideas for arranging videos coming up as soon as I get a little bit more time. But in the meantime, keep arranging and protect your ears. All right. Goodbye.